aka Black Chakra. I am ranked as one of the top spoken word artists in America. I work for Do More Baltimore. What we do is go into different schools, juvenile facilities, and build social justice poetry clubs. I am the top teaching artist of that and a 12th level dungeon master.
Peace, everybody. I am Jaquetta, and I am a graduating MBA student here at Morgan. I'm also a spoken word artist, not top ranking, but but I do my thing every now and then. I'm also a published author. All right.
Okay, so yes, I feel that it's extremely important for Black people to know about the history specifically because if people have tried to keep it from you, which a system of white supremacy and a fucked up educational system that is America has tried to desperately keep.
Piggybacking off of what, I'm sorry.
Jacob.
Okay, so piggybacking off what Jacob said, I grew up in a very, I want to say sheltered area, so I didn't really get to experience, like, of course my parents, you know, are Black African Americans, so I knew of Black history, but it wasn't until, you know, I want to say the Trayvon Martin situation, I really started, like, digging deep into my Black history and understanding where I come from and where my parents' parents come from. So I was in a way walking around in the world like not understanding who I was really. So I feel as if it's definitely important for people to know their history. You can further yourself quicker and more, quicker than I did. Honestly, I was 16 when I started. I'm now 22. So it's definitely.
So I would say, I'm piggybacking off of both of them. It's absolutely important. The shirts that I'm wearing is from a study class that meets every Sunday, African Awareness and Critical Thinking Study class. And the main facilitator of that organization, he dictates that history it clarifies the now and illuminates the future, right? So if you know your history, you know what it is that you're doing now, you know the purpose of now, and you also know how to strategize to change things for the future. And if you look at the things that were done, even way back in continental Africa, our ancestors were true historians of everything. They were agriculturalists. So how did they know how to observe the seasons and know when to plant what, at what time, and when to reap the harvest? So when you look at history, you're not just looking at way back when, you're looking at right now. You're looking at this moment in room 316 at Morgan State University. This is history because what happens at this moment, now we have laid a groundwork for future events. You have laid a groundwork for future generations and for future students. So history is absolutely important, not just from the past, but also for right this moment.
All right, let me jump in real quick. History, I think Black people, especially Black people that's in college knowing our history is essential because I think history, us all collectively knowing our history, it gives us common purpose, it gives us common awareness, and we know what we're here, why we're here, and what we're supposed to be doing. But if I'm aware of my history, and I have an obligation to Black people, whether they be in Baltimore City or DC or PG, wherever you at, and you don't know your history, and you think you're just here to get a degree and get a good job and do nothing for the neighborhood that you come from, then it's arguable whether we part of the same people group. Mm-hmm. So I think what really unifies us and really makes us come together in a true way is knowing the history. Because if I know what was done for me, and you know what was done for you, and what was done for both our people, then we know that we're the same, and we're able to work for that common purpose. So I think it's really important to know our history, because they're the people that have paved the way for us, that have fought, bled, and died, and endured crazy things for us to be here today. So if you don't know the history, then you don't really appreciate the now. And so I think knowing our history is really important, and not just the history that you learn in history books, but the history of pre-colonial Africa, the history of the unnamed people that regular school won't tell you. I think knowing about all those people is important. And then even honoring the ones that are unnamed, honoring the people that fought in the revolution that wasn't Nat Turner, or honoring the person that walked with Malcolm X that you won't never hear with the history books. I think all that is important. And I think if we all take, us as college students, if we focus and learn our history, then we're able to have a better understanding of what we're supposed to be doing now.
So, also, understanding, like, when you talk about the scope of history and stuff like that, I thought Elijah did a very beautiful job encapsulating why it's so important that we learn our history. I just want to take a second to be like, this is why I think black people, especially us as young black people in this generation, find it so hard to learn our history. History is extremely painful. Our history specifically is one of triumph, beauty, a struggle that is amazing, that we have overcome constant times, and there's a further history of us that exists beyond this country, that is us of kings and beauty and queens and agriculture and the people who literally used to wash white people and teach them how to clean their dirty ass selves. But like the history that we are inculcated with as we exist in America, or as we exist in the education system that we exist in, is extremely painful to learn. Working in high schools as a paraeducator, I've heard students say out their mouth, oh shit man, it's gonna be Black History Month. Because it's painful, because they like, yo, why do I gotta learn that I was whipped? Why do I gotta learn that dogs used to attack me? It's like, when they see themselves from a scope of history that makes them seem less than, that makes them seem like they were only beaten and they weren't anything better. So, I just want to say, if you're sitting in this room and you feel like, okay, I don't know a lot about my history, I understand where that thought came from, and I want you to know that it did not originate in you. It is designed for you not to want to learn your history. That's the damn point of it. It's just ridiculous how much I learned about Julius Caesar and all that shit. I could quote you this European history. You ask one of my senior teachers, well, my senior year white history teacher about African history, he can't tell you anything. I'm like, well, you're not a history teacher, you're your story teacher. Yeah. You understand your story and not mine. Right. So, and because of that, we have to understand that we have to learn our history, because it's our responsibility to pass that shit down. For me, history outside of the book starts with grandma. Tell me about what that shit was like for you. Learn her stories through oral tradition and share them. That's how we begin to build it. Before the written word was the spoken word. So passing what we have down from the stories of our elders is, like, for me, the most important part of our history. That's when history becomes real, when you can touch somebody who lived in a time that you are reading about. So. Oh no, she had a question.
Oh, so I had a question? I just had something to say. I also think it's very important to talk about how in African American history, it's important to know that our history did not start with slavery and whippings and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It was way more before that. We were intellectuals, we were all different types of things way before slavery. So I think it's very important to know that before we even talk about slavery and whippings and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I want to add to what you said. I think it's also important, because I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. I think it's also important to not talk down on the ones that don't know and educate them.
Exactly.
Because people really don't know. Go ahead.
At the study class, she was talking about the African awareness, critical thinking study class. The Bible always stressed how we use words and concepts, because some concepts that we might use might be from the oppressor or from Europeans and their history for real. And he was saying that history is it's like what a group of people has accomplished. You feel me? It's their story, and what they did to us is not really it's not really like history. How people look at it is more of somebody like forcefully, you feel me, like plunging into our story and doing something to us. Even using the concept of slavery for real, it's kind of like demeaning, because slavery more or less make it sound like it's something that we accepted. And you know, in history, at least what they teach inside the school system, they make it seem like we didn't buck, like our ancestors just accepted. They don't let you know that it was 200 slave rebellions in the 1800s, and that white people were straight scared about to go back to Europe and was scared to death. of what the black people was doing. They're not going to put that out there. The importance of us knowing our history is because when we know our history, it dictates our actions now. It gives us confidence. It empowers us. And when you know what our ancestors been through, what they fought against, and how hard they went, like you not getting the latest pair of Jordans and getting that $500 Peruvian weave and all that ain't going to seem so significant for real. And then the stuff that you do face and that you do go up against, it's going to be nothing because you're going to be able to draw on the power and the spirit of your ancestors to guide you through for real. So history is very deep. History is spiritual, especially for us. And it is us for real. And it's empowering. And it's important to know that because if you don't know that, then you will be just like that movie Get Out for real. You feel me? That's a black person without history. It's the movie Get Out. You feel me? Like that.
Awesome. You can even break down the oppression within the language of you were slave, no, you were enslaved. There's a big difference. It's like you were not born into this, you were not raised into this, your people were forced into this and trapped into this. So like that, these things exist to make us not want to learn our history and stuff like that. And I just thought that was very important to know.
Like I said, I come from, again, a very sheltered background. My mom and my dad both grew up in rural South during the 50s. Like my mom was born in 54. My mom and dad were both born in 54. So, right, yeah. So they were in the midst of the civil rights movement. My mom and dad both went to secondary school. So it's me being in this, it's generational for me. They had to experience this one thing, and I grew up in a place where I'm like, okay, I can go wherever I want to go. I can eat where it's important to understand and to know who you are. The world ain't gonna tell you who you are as a black person. You gotta find that out for yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a history class. I'm in a history 101 class right now, and I am not learning anything. We almost at midterm. I'm not learning a single thing that I have not known about my blackness that I could not have Googled, that I could not have researched, and it's on purpose. It's definitely on purpose. Anytime that I can learn about, like you said, learn about Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus ain't discovered no damn America. So let's stop. People need to stop. That's the whole thing. But,
you know, that's
the whole thing.
That's white people's word for stealing.
Exactly.
I discovered this. No, nigga.
It was people who lived in here already.
The Native Americans were like, well, what the fuck did we do? Like, but you know, the question is just so. A lot of shit hits me when you ask the question, what is people's duty after they know their history? Right. Because people are vastly different and their environments are vastly different. And for instance, if you are a black person and you came up in a rich part of New York, you know, maybe upstate New York, you have a lot of money, the concept of race has probably been introduced to you because you realized in the predominantly white schools that you go to that you stand out, you're different, and people might look down on you, but you've had money to give you a little more privileges than the average black person has had. When that person looks at the scope of history and their duty, they might not feel the same things as me at this village. Like, it might not mean as much to them and stuff like that. And then it also depends on how you learned your history. If this education system has been successful, then you've learned your history in a very fucked up manner. Like, shit is real wrong. And, pardon me, children. Anyway, you've learned your history in a real messed up manner, specifically because it was designed as such. So, someone who feels like I don't have any duty but to live, because that's what they fought for, but just live, I can't, like, I judge them but silently, but I judge not get you be judged. Like, I judge them silently because I'm just like, there has to be more, but I can understand if I can understand someone feeling like, okay, maybe we died enough, maybe we fought enough. I don't have that feeling, but I understand people who do, and I try not to judge them because of the way our history is set up, there are many different black mindsets of how to attack what our duty is. So I think it's just a very broad question. It really depends on the experience of the black person you're talking to.
How you doing? Hi. Can y'all introduce yourself for Sure. Most people know me as Mama Gina. I'm a Morgan alum, so I really appreciate what y'all doing here. So the question on the floor is, what do you do once you get the information? And the best thing to do is change your thought and behavior. So if you have the thoughts, like, I want to know more, then it goes into, I want to do more. And it starts with self. A lot of people think externally about our collective history, but what's the history of your mother and father? What's the history of your uncle and aunts? What's the patterns in your life? When you begin to investigate those things, you have a stronger sense of self. And once you have a stronger sense of self, you can then put that into action.
I think everybody has different creative abilities. Like, you are artists, other people are administrators, teachers. So it may look different, but I think once you know your history, you know that we are all connected. No matter what you name us, we're all connected, we're all one people, and you realize your duty to us, then you have to use your creative abilities, your talents, your skills to work for us, to work for the children that's in this room, to work for the elders that are not being protected. And I think that it may look different for different people, but I think that you have to figure out within yourself, what do I owe to my community? And I think that's based on what you bring. But I think black children and black people in general, you know how people be like sophomores, undecided. It might be people in this room. You know what I mean? Or kids be in high school and be like, I don't know what my purpose is. And I think that's part of the not knowing our history thing, is that when you know your history, you know that baseline, I'm supposed to be working for my people. I don't know how, I don't know what I'm good at, but I'm supposed to be working for my people. But when people don't have the history part, then you like, yo, well, society has told me I'm supposed to be working for the good of my individual self. And for most people, that's not good enough. You're not motivated to just work to get money for yourself. There's some people that's selfish enough and are motivated by that. But for most people, they struggle with a disconnection from other people. And so they say, yo, work for your family, or work to get this money. But that's not good enough. But what the history does, it places you on a common purpose that, yo, at least I know I'm supposed to be working for the good of my people. So when I start thinking about whether I should do this or not do this, I'm judging it based off of whether it benefits or hurts my community, because my actions do. So I think the duty may look different, but we all have to know that we have a common duty. And like you said, what you do and don't do either going to hurt us or benefit us. So you have to be real, not just careful in the classroom or careful at your job, but be careful about every little thing that you do. When after this event, when you gossip about her and say that, yo, she sounds funny or something like that, that hurts our community. The people that listen to the gossip, that also hurts our community. And that those different habits and those little decisions that we make day in and day out further the hurt in our community or become the medicine that's starting to take us out.
That's such a like, you know, the messed up thing is angel winging off what you said. Yeah, I choose not to say piggyback, angel winging. So anyway, you know, talking about pigs. Anyway, like angel winging off of that, like, isn't it it's like so messed up, like that's our existence. Because it seems like no matter what like white people do in this country, it's like nobody is like, oh, that's white people. And unless it's like shooting up schools. But like, no matter what white people do in America, it's like Lindsay Lohan could crash into 6 people and they'd be like, well, that's Lindsay Lohan. Nicki Minaj says something, it's like, look at how black people act. It's just like, what? Like, so I was reading that, what you were saying, I'm just like, it's so true. When one of us does something, we're all judged. Like, did I support everything Barack Obama did? Absolutely not. However, I recognize how hard that must be. It's like, I can't even show out in this seat because the first thing I do, they're going to be like, look at this black, look at this, look at him. Look what this nigga did. Like, as soon as he got in the seat of power, look what he did. Like, that man raised the price on the side of Shakur's head. I'm just like, and then he went after Bin Laden, which I got a problem with. That was basically him like, yo, I got you, Bush. I'm gonna finish that off for you, shorty. Like, and I'm just like, yo, he's appeasing them. And meanwhile, while he's doing nothing but appeasing the Caucasians, everybody's like, oh, he's just so black. I'm like, because he played basketball? Like, what do you mean? Like, So it's just crazy that we're forced into this existence where it's like the acts of an individual represent the acts of a whole entire race. And even if the other race of people has been to war and tried to eliminate every other race, like you have black on black, and I'm like, so isn't it like white on everything? Like you tried to eliminate every race of people that ever existed, but you don't get the bill for that. Like, so I just think that's like, it's just an uncomfortable place to be sitting in, but it is exactly like that. We are responsible for everything. One of individuals' actions is the actions of all of us.
And I think even more so than just how other people perceive us, when you talk about doing these things like gossiping and everything like that, that's a reflection of how we perceive ourselves. And that's a result of the subtle propagandas that they have placed out there for us. So when we say things like your lips look like soup coolers and you got a big old nose and things like that, that was strategically placed by them through images specifically, because somebody could say something to you and it might hit, but they always say take a picture because it lasts longer. So when you look at all of those advertisements with the black babies and the soaps and the dark faces and bright red lips, those things were not by any accident. That was very strategic on their part to create an image of us, not only for other Europeans, but for us to look at ourselves in a way that is stupid, that is clumsy, that is unable to be anything great, that is ugly. That was purposely done so that we can have that image of ourselves and then aspire to be an image of them. And they're supposed to be the beauty standard. Absolutely not, because the standards that they have came from us. So they have taken they're taking cornrows and calling it whatever the Kardashians, whatever they want to call it. And those things originated from us, and then they flip it to where we don't want to have those things anymore, and we want to have their hair.
The slave mentality is a very interesting thing. And please, so this is what happens. We bring up slavery and the effects of slavery, and we're told to forget it. You know, we're told it was so long ago and stuff like that. I use this analogy. If an atrocity happens to a woman, such like rape, which is one of the worst atrocities in human existence, that's going to affect how she raises her daughter. If she then tells her daughter about that rape, that will affect how she raises her daughter. So that's 3 generations affected by one rape. They raped a culture for 300 some odd years. So how long do you think we're going to be? How long do you think we're going to be feeling that? We're still healing from that, and I think that self-hatred that black people have, not identifying as black, that is a result of that slave mentality.
Piggybacking off what he said, white people, you know what? I'm sorry. They make it seem like slavery was the only thing done to black people. Slavery on top of the civil rights movement, things that happened before the civil rights movement, post-civil rights movement, things that's happening now, things that happened yesterday, things that happened last week. This is a continuation of things that have happened to black people. So telling me or telling black people, get over it, it was 400 years ago. Like I said, my mama grew up in '54. The movie Green Book that just came out, I had no clue that they actually had a green book that had things where places they could go when they're traveling, places they couldn't go, places that accepted black people. My mama was 6, having to use a green book to tell her where she could and couldn't go. So you're not about to sit up here and tell me to get over something that my mom is still living, still continues to go through, and still remembers, and still passes down to her children.
Now of people who exist in that. So sometimes to separate themselves from the rage of not knowing who we are, we disconnect completely. Me, I don't have a choice. I'm black. Like, I look in the mirror, I'm like, melanin. So I can never live in the identity of not being black. And I think that was healthier for me coming up, so I couldn't disattach and stuff like that. But like, I understand, like, there are some people who are like, can I take this shit off? Because black day to day is stressful. It's stressful. I don't condone it, but I don't judge the people who do. I just recognize that they haven't found that deeper love for self.
I just want to say something right real quick. There's a concept called cultural aggression for real, right? And the cultural aggression is when another group of people basically aggressively push their culture onto you and force you to get rid of yours for real. Like, there was a wrestling match somewhere, and the referee made a Caucasian made the black dude cut his locks off. You know, in a society, when you learn to speak proper English for real, people look at you as if you're better. If you're lighter, you feel me, light skin is in, you feel me, like middle brown is cool, dark skin is like all that type stuff. But we're in a society where they constantly bombarding us with all these images, as all of them is spoken on, always coming at us for real. And it's just weighing down on us and smacking us and smacking us and smacking us, because the concept of what all y'all spoke on falls under cultural aggression for real. Feel me? Us as people of African descent, a spiritual people for real, right? We used to see like spirit in everything for real. Like, you would look at another sister and brother and see yourself in that person for real. The way Caucasians, their culture is selfish. Their culture is based on individualism and materialism. So we might see a tree and see this tree as being part of the earth and spirit, you feel me, and have a certain respect and reverence for it. And all they see is a material that they can make profit off of, and then destroy the whole world and have everything just like toxic for real. You feel me? Cultural aggression is what everything that they said falls under for real. So I just want y'all to get familiar with that concept, cultural aggression, because that's what all of that just fell under. They're culturally aggressing upon us, and we must culturally aggress back upon them. We gotta embrace our Africanity, our blackness, and all that, and do it hard, and don't be ashamed of it for real. So when the Watoto and the children come up under us for real, they fight back even harder for real. You feel me? But cultural aggression, that's what it is for real.
What I was going to say is, I want to speak to another side of it. I think sometimes we use identity like it's a Louis belt or it's a pair of Jordans. So I think it's that, I don't think it's that it's all, maybe it goes into self-hate, but I don't think it's just that people just don't know. I think it's like they put, I'm a Latina, or I got some Indian in me, or as a way to show that like I'm unique, that you just black, or you just this, and I'm more unique. So it's like, it's a flaunt, and it's like I'm more of something, I'm more unique. And I think we gotta stop that. I think we really gotta stop that. I think we have to know more about our history, because black is enough. Black is enough. And no offense to people, but you don't need black and AKA. You don't need black and Omega Psi Phi. Black is enough. Black is enough. And if you go into that, just make sure it ain't for that reason, that you want to add something else to your identity that you wasn't born with. And we got to realize it and be steeped in it that, yo, us being black is enough. Because Asians or Native Americans, they don't add stuff to their identity. They don't say that I want to be, I'm Native American, but I'm also West Side, Baltimore.
I got a little over West in me, bro.
Yeah, like, it's just, I'm Native American to the death of me. And when we say, yo, I'm black, and that's first, and that's the most important thing, then we have a commonality that we can all unite around. And that's what's really important, because we talk about unity and all that type of thing. And it's a really important concept that we need to be moving towards. But if you see yourself as a Native American first, or you see yourself as Omega Psi Phi first, and I see myself as black first, we're not going to be unified, because it's always something in between us coming together.
So going back, anybody else have? I'm sure.
Yes. And even to add on, my name is Jada, and even to add on to your point, like even black people being represented as minorities, and that's the whole, 90% of the world is black and brown, so how am I minor? You know what I mean? Right. So even in my regard, like we talk about community and stuff like that, so I'm a computer science major, and when I delved further down into my history, I realized like technical workspaces work for black people, and especially not for black women. So when I get older, I already know I'm going back to my community to help black women and black children out to get to where I'm at today and to become computer scientists. Yeah, that's throughout my finding my black history. That's something that I want to do for my black community. But just even referring to myself as a double-minded, I don't do that. I'm a black woman and I'm a majority. Right. 57% of the world is women and 90% of the world is black and brown.
Beyond just the way that we look and our behavior and the way that we dress and things like that, it goes into our entire lifestyle.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about a good school and we talk about, You know, you speak well, you speak so articulate. Oh my goodness, you pronounce your whole entire word. Where did you learn how to do that? And we're one way when we down on Penn North, and then we another way when we out Towson. You know, because we're trying to exist and we do this code switch thing. Right. When we get around, you know, you around your homie, like, yo, Jacob, what up, dummy?
Good, my nut.
Right? And then soon as Jake from State Farm walks in the door, it's like, hello.
Ted, how are you? Haven't seen you in a coon's age.
And so it's the entire beingness. I don't care about an American dream. That's not a dream that I want to live. Because as the brother over here was saying earlier, their dreams are rooted in individualism. They have nothing to do with the collective.
Absolutely.
When I go to work, I am thinking about how can I learn these skills to take them back. Everywhere I go, I am a spook. I don't care where I am. I served 6 years in the military. I was a spook. And guess what I do now? I am a certified handgun instructor. Right? Because I was able to take that and bring those skills back to my people. Do you understand? If I'm going to go into their institutions and into their establishments, you better be damn sure that I have an exit plan and a goal for the purpose of me being there. Don't just go in there for the sake of, oh, girl, you see them new Louboutins? Don't just go in there for the sake of, hey, yo, you see them new Jordans coming out? No, go in there for the fact that whatever it is that they are learning, you're going to bring it back. Because if they have an institution, you best believe that once you learn their infrastructure, you can have that same exact institution. If you're working in a hair store, you need to be looking at whatever their paperwork is, who's their manufacturer, because for black women to be the greatest supporters of the hair industry, there's no reason why we are not the largest suppliers for it. But if a black person does try to break into that industry, you best believe that the Koreans and whoever else are keeping that on lock. It's extremely difficult to break into that industry. But we have so many of our sisters working in these hair salons, they need to be all right, so they get it from this place. They get a shipment every Tuesday. This is what, you know, they need to be sitting by the door so that we can build up our own.
Right on.
Hits a whole lot.
Brainwash.
And then even like when it comes to my dad, like my dad is very materialistic and it's a mess because my mom is total opposite. And she just like helped me transition to like this whole spirituality world that I'm doing and everything. And it's just like, just hearing like the stuff that my dad would say or the like the people that I'll hang with, like even in the 10th grade, like I was starving myself, I wasn't eating, because it was just like, I was a size 10 and I'm on like swim team. Usually people like, you know, 00s, 4s, and I'm a whole size 10. So I stopped eating and then it's just like, I didn't perm my hair, but I did like, yeah. So the curls are dead. But I was hurt. I was very annoyed, but it's just like, it kept hitting me like, when I was in the process of like dyeing my hair and then like even relaxing it, like I was just like, all right, do I really want to do it? But then it was just like, I would just hear the comments that people would say like, all right, so I'm the artist for real, like it's time to do your hair. But it's just like, I was comfortable with myself and then it's just like, they broke me down. And I'm happy that I came to Morgan, and I'm a very shy person. I'm only comfortable in front of my friends. So it's just like, yeah.
We cool.
But it's just like, I really want to learn more about my background, more about my history, more about myself as a person, because I really felt as though, like I was culture shocked when I came to Morgan. Like I really felt as though I knew so much about myself. I felt as though I knew what my purpose was. But it's just like hearing everybody talk, everybody's stories, it's just like, it's a deeper meaning. And I really get like emotional because like that whole depression stage was just like sad for me as a person, because just, like, I went through it all by myself. And my mom lives all the way in Atlanta. I live with my dad, and it's just like I said, he's very materialistic, not emotional at all. So it's just like me trying to talk to him, tell him I want to go to therapy. It's just like, what do you want to go to therapy for? It's just like, nothing wrong with you. And then it's like, I heard that a whole lot as well. Like, I'm depressed, and how don't you know as a parent that I'm depressed? And it's just like, I went through it all by myself. And then like, even the starving situation, like,
I came to Morgan, I'm like, oh, you're not the only curvy chick, or you're not the only one that's wearing a tent, so it's okay, but it's just like, as a person for me right now, it's so hard. I'm trying to build myself back up. I'm just so happy that I came here, because I wasn't going to come at all today. I'm telling y'all, I'm so happy I came.
We have one more comment on the topic, then we're going to switch gears a bit.
Okay, so hi, I'm Liana. I personally grew up in a white neighborhood. I'm from California, so it's really East Coast. West Coast. That's just white people and Hispanics, right? So I think why people don't identify as black is because they're scared and they're trying to combat with everything negative. Just going to a white school, I was just okay, I don't want to do this because I don't want them to think I'm gonna be gay or those things. So you're trying so hard not to be perceptions of others, And even what you said about natural hair, I've always loved my hair, but I was ooh, I don't know about wearing it out. It's a bit much. I don't know about that. So just coming to Morgan, I was wow, there's so many beautiful young ladies and beautiful men too. Just want to have
having men.
Yeah, just being themselves and being happy with who they are, and that's just good. So
Absolutely.
Feel that.
So my father's a correctional officer. Or he was. He's retired. He's been retired for the last 7 years. And my father is very much my father, in saying that he hates everything. And there were times I thought he hated black people. But he's a good black man who works hard, who works for his family. So I had a good example of a black man, but he hates everything equally. Anyway, that being said, I had this view on crime and people who commit it, and then, I worked in a juvenile facility as a teaching artist, teaching poetry to the youth who were incarcerated, bars behind bars, which I think is dope. That being said, a whole view on the idea, I think us hurting the question is very awkward for me because I'm it hurts us as much as it hurts any group of people to kill one another. But black people, we have this extra added thing about once black on black crime happens, we have really hurt the village. We have really hurt the neighborhood and stuff like that. And then also I delve into the reason how black crime happens. Most black crime is a question of pride. It's I need financial gain on these streets, so I need my respectability. He challenged my respectability, thus questioning my pride, thus questioning my ability to gain more money, so he had to go. That's why there's no such thing as a black serial killer, It's black people don't kill or hurt out of this insanity. We hurt out of necessity, which is a horrible situation that you have been built in you. So the way I feel about it, I feel it's horrible, but I also recognize that it is a system that was placed by white supremacy within us. So I don't get but so mad once you realize a lot of the character traits and the things that black people do, especially the harsh things, were trained. You were taught to do that. This is design. I don't get too mad. I try not to judge people. I understand that a young man who got to do certain things to make such money, I don't know what he goes home to. I don't condone what he does, but I try not to judge him because people have been judging him his whole life, and that's how he ended up like this. So it's for me, the way I look upon us who do crimes to us, it's I don't think they understand themselves or they understand us in a full manner. They don't understand their place in the universe, because if they understood their place in the world, the universe, and stuff like that, and in this world specifically, then they would understand why crime is good or bad, because crime is dependent on the law. Once drinking liquor was illegal. Once owning people was legal. So when we talk about crime, it's a very hard subject to break down. What do we mean? Do we mean hurting black people specifically? Hurting anyone specifically is a problem to me, but hurting those people who look like you, I think, again, that's a connection to the self-hatred of ourselves, because we're taught to see ourselves as the enemy, which is also a design.
I think, going off of what he said, I think that we have to move from a place of understanding, like he said, understanding the conditions that create the situations where our people is hurting one another. But I also think that us that are sitting in these chairs that are at Morgan State University, privileged enough to be here, I think we have an obligation to those that have been conditioned in situations that we may have either escaped from or never lived in ourselves. So I think we have to move towards the what do we do now? If what he said is true, if we understand that it's 12-year-old boys, it's 13-year-old boys that gotta sell, that gotta rob, that gotta do what they gotta do to feed their family, I think we have to move from, especially us in this room, we have to move from the place of I understand to I'm working for those people day in and day out. I'm working for that reality so that reality don't exist another 1,000 years. I think we have to move towards that place because I think if we don't, then I think we do them a disservice. So George Orwell, who used to critique communism or whatever, he's had a quote, and he said that that communists, they hate the rich more than they love the poor. And so I sometimes think that about us. We have to face, do we hate white people more than we love our own people? Because if you hate white people, we'll stay in the same place of we just understanding the violence that's happening. We just understand it and we always defending it. But if you love your people, then you're constantly and you're moving yourself towards a constant working so that those conditions don't exist because they're abnormal normalities. We know that they're not supposed to be that way. And so we have to start thinking like, yo, what can I do in my position? What can I do in my life to just ease it up a little bit? Because if you're a teacher, you're gonna, and you, especially if you're a teacher in Baltimore City Public Schools, you're gonna meet kids all the time that are living in those situations. And you can't just keep saying, I understand, I understand, I understand.
When you gonna act?
You have to say, yo, I have organized some people where I got some money so that now when you come and tell me tomorrow that I'm selling drugs because of this, I say no. Because I've organized some people to have some money so you don't have to do that. Or I'm organizing a business so that you can have a livable wage so you don't have to do that. Then what? And what you'll find is that some people are not doing it for the reasons that they say they're doing it. And that and just like how it's good and noble people in this room, and it might be some good, some rotten people, or acting out some rotten things in this room. So you might find out that this person not doing it because they need to feed their family. They doing it for the abstract things. They doing it for the fame. They doing it for the attraction that they get from women. They doing it for y'all, like, to do it. They addicted to the lifestyle. And then that's a whole nother conversation. But if it's economics that we got to deal with, if it's knowledge something we got to deal with, then we got to get more solution-oriented and start carrying out those solutions, especially us, because we're in a better position.
When it comes to finding the solution to these things, to continue the conversation, like, one, I think one of the solutions is going to take an economic understanding of the people, such as like what the Jews have and what the Asian community has of their people, and a better understanding of the educational system. Because if you understand money, then you understand how you can function in society and how to make more of it and how to acquire wealth and what to use your wealth for. Thus, drug dealing and all that stuff won't be important to you because you know you'll make the money to impress people. And once you have learned yourself in the proper education, you learn how to maintain your money with a career and stuff like that. So the microcosm is this kid is on the corner selling drugs or this, that, and it's for this reason or that reason. The macrocosm is the things we have to stop all this are not quite available yet. So, like, as someone who works in the Baltimore City Public Schools, like, being that line of defense is a very strange place to be put in. Because you risk destroying a child if you call him a criminal, if you judge him. But you also risk scaring a child if it's like, I can help you with this, I can help you with this, and stuff like that, because so many people have offered him a hand and given him claws. So because of that, it's a very strange situation. And when you find those kids who are doing it for vindictive, horrible reasons, they still need help. They need therapy. They need some type of institution. They need some type of institution that we don't have yet. So it's like, when people always ask me what are the solutions, I'm like, we need our own economics and we need our own education. Solution. The problem is these things aren't here yet. It's like I'm asking the things that I think can solve the problem don't exist. And that's where I feel like we're constantly getting into the real issue.
And that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you feel like, if you have a proposed solution, especially us, Because when you talk to black people about what the issues is and what the solutions is, most black people have an opinion, have an idea. And we need to be doing this, this, and this. What I'm saying is that even if it'll take the next 40 years, you dedicate the rest of your life to making that solution. Because what else are you here to do?
Yeah.
If you serve us no purpose, you know what I mean, then maybe you shouldn't have been born. So it's like you have to figure out what purpose are you serving our group.
Yeah.
Because people have, we talking about slavery and segregation, people have given a lot for we to be here. So what you gonna do now? So for me, it's like, yo, if we say, yo, we need Fortune 500 companies, if that was my proposed solution, then I'm going to spend the rest of my life attempting to build a Fortune 500 company so that we can get out of this situation. Even if I failed, that's what I'm going to do. Because what else am I going to do waiting to die? So,
I'm glad that you mentioned that you should spend your life doing that, because we may not see a significant change in our lifetime. But we can make the blueprint, and we can pass it down to the next generation, right? And then they can lay the foundation, and they can pass it down to the next generation, and then they can put up the walls and pass it down to the next generation, and then they can do all the framework and put all the rooms in there, and then do the plumbing, and then do the electricity. We don't have to build this house today, or in the next 100 years, or even 200 years, but we can do something, even if it's not this week.
It was something that he said as far as thought, but I kind of forgot, bro. But what was the question again?
So I'm gonna repeat the question. The question was, how does crime committed by our people against our people hurt our community?
I think we should create like a new standard and consider us not doing stuff for our people with crime for real, right? Because like I grew up in the hood, I did 9 years in the joint for real. I've been in all the juvenile systems he was talking about for real. And it was people coming in there trying to help us and give us therapy and all this stuff, you feel me? There was even black people doing it, but they was Negroes. You feel me? Like their therapy was not rooted in the African culture, you feel me, which has the principles of unity, cooperation, you feel me, and other things that's deeper than that I'm not going to expound on right now. So history still ties back into what y'all saying for real, because one of the biggest crimes that's being committed on our people is the people that's educated for real. Like he said, that's not in a position to be as effed up as those people that's committing them crimes, not doing enough for real and not doing nothing for real. You feel me? And only looking out for themselves. That should be looked at as a crime. That should be looked at as the biggest crime for real. Because some of them people inside those conditions, they didn't see anything else. That's all they know is that, you feel me, like this is what I gotta do. I gotta rob, I gotta sell drugs, you feel me, and this is what all my peers doing. So this is what it is for real. They might not even be able to see what college look like. I got a homeboy, yo, died at 12 years old out Cherry Hill, and he's never even really left Cherry Hill. Like he never been out of Baltimore City. At the most, he never left Baltimore City. You feel me? Like it's some of them people inside those communities, and then they had a self-hate thing. I did time in the joint for real, and all them dudes out there that be killing, yo, a lot of them is scared to death of them Caucasians for real. I see them disrespect black females for real. I see them disrespect each other. They go out into the mountains with them white Caucasians for real and tuck their tail. The same ones blowing each other's brains out there on the street that disrespect one of y'all act tough and straight suckers for real. You feel me? But even them, they still lost. They still lost, and there's still certain knowledge and information that they don't have. Now imagine if half of y'all moved into one of these areas for real versus trying to live according to the American dream and get out the hood. You get some wealth for real, you feel me? You establish yourself and you move into the hood with a group of people to impact the environment for real. You feel me? 30, 40, 50 graduated Morgan college students with good careers cannot stand against 10 or 15 drug dealers with guns. It won't happen for real. Like the biggest crime being committed against black people right now is the people that sit in this room that's not doing nothing for their people.
And since we're talking about drugs specifically, adding on to what everyone said, we live in a capitalist society where it is conditioned, we are conditioned to be at 21, 22, 23 and knowing exactly what you're going to do with your life. You in college at 18 years old to go straight from high school, parents providing for them. You here, you alone, you on your own. 4 years, you got to know what you're supposed to do. Right. So you have people who are young who grow up in conditions where they feel as if they have to know, they have to know, they have to provide. You have people who are growing up without fathers and mothers, people who are growing up in poverty, who have no choice because that's all they've seen, who feel as if they have no choice because you have a choice, who feel as if they don't have, you know, the opportunities to actually be greater and do greater. So that's why I honestly feel as if drug dealing to me, yeah, murder is terrible, but I feel as if that in itself is one of the worst things, especially dealing to black people. It's one of the worst things that could ever happen. I grew up in Southeast DC. Listen. I grew up in Southeast DC. My mom moved us out of Southeast when I was 16. So that was all I was around. And it took my parents literally sheltering me. Like I said, I was sheltered, literally sheltering me and like, you gonna be better, you gonna do better. You gonna be better than your surroundings. To honestly put me in a position like, you know what, I'm not gonna be like so-and-so. I can't critique what they've been through because my parents actually, they don't have, a lot of people don't have what I had. And it takes, honestly, it really does take a village of people to raise children. You got people out here, you got kids raising kids, no disrespect to anyone who is a teenage mama, who is a teenage, I commend you for being here and doing that, but you got people who are lost in the world who are raising children. You can't raise somebody you wasn't raised.
Hi. Okay, so, like, I just kind of feel what he was saying. I don't feel like it. Just because you've come, like, grown up in poverty and, like, done those things, that doesn't, like, prohibit you from being successful. I feel like it's like a mind. You know what I mean? Like, you have to put your mind to it. So it could be everybody in this room that's helping black people or in the communities, in the street, you know? But if they don't want to choose to move and are, like, society doesn't say, hey, like, there's more out there, then there's nothing that's going to be done. So I feel like we have to, our things should be changing our perception of society.
So to that, I think that we should take a deeper look at the traumas that people have within them. Because in order to go and seek out resources, because you are very correct, there are a plethora of resources out here. But if I'm somebody who doesn't know any different from what has been placed in front of me generationally, you know, how do I know that that is the best path for me? Because there's a certain lifestyle that has been, that I've been ingrained. You know, it's not just something that I see. For somebody to be successful from some of those areas, that is a deep anomaly. It's almost nothing. It's very rare. You know, so if I am a drug dealer or if I am out here committing all of these heinous crimes, I don't even have it in my head to begin with that I can do better. I don't even have it in my head to begin with to go out there and seek a resource that will get me out of my situation. Because all I know is this one thing.
There was a hand back there.
Well, hey guys, I'm Naya. I'm a junior elementary education major with a minor in sociology. So kind of just to hop off of what you were saying, it is a mindset. Like right now we're in the age of immediacy, so it's like, okay, boom, 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 we gotta have it, we gotta have it, we gotta have it. You know, and then if you look into the urban black communities, it's like, okay, all I'm worried about is tomorrow, like how I'm gonna get from today to tomorrow, you know? And so that idea of looking to the future is what sets us apart from the Jews, from the white people, from everybody else, because generational wealth is not an idea for us. It's not a thought process. Like we're not like developing those steps and those processes to actually get there, because all we're worried about is, okay, like I'm here right now, how I'm gonna get food on the table for tomorrow, you understand? So it's like, we honestly, as black people, we talk a lot. We have great ideas, we talk too much, we don't act. So it doesn't take much for the people in this room to open up a charter school for our black and brown kids. Like, you can do it. There's resources like you were saying. We can do it. We just need to act. Like, and I feel like that is what's setting us apart, and that's what's holding us back, is because we talk way too much and don't act enough.
I think that's a good point, and I think if we talk too much, and we don't act enough, I think it's important to highlight those that are acting. So it's an organization that's in here called Pan-African Liberation Movement. So if you're affiliated with PLM or you're a member of PLM, could you like stand up? So they're trying to create a school. So when you talk about like creating a charter school, they're attempting to create a school. They are creating a school, but they need funding. So if you're serious about this work, and you say that, yo, we don't learn our history in school, we don't learn our history in these programs, and we need to know our history, then support the school that they're creating financially with your purse, you know what I mean? Cash App, PayPal, you feel me? And so that they can get this off the ground so they'll be able to do something for black babies. I think also, and not only just that organization, so I'm a member of Tendea and we're working, so if you're affiliated with Tendea, can you stand? Got a couple of us. And then also, my man Nemo on Crunches, but HBO, a Healthy Black organization that's on Morgan campus that's working. And so I would say also that when we highlight the negative so much, then we think the positive don't exist at all. The positive may be smaller, but we have to recreate the narrative and say that, yo, like, highlight these things that are positive, that are happening, and support those. Because we don't know how many people supported Martin Luther King, or we don't know how many people supported Malcolm X. In our mind, it was all black people, but probably not. But it's narrative creation. You get what I'm saying? If I put this video online, they might be like, yo, it was live. And then somebody 100 years later might be like, yo, all black people was in this room. This was a historic event. Like, Morgan State was never the same after this event. So it's like, we have to control our narrative, and by controlling our narrative is that, okay, we know the negative is happening. We already know that our enemies, the media, is going to already highlight the negative. With us, we have to highlight our positive. We have to highlight the people that are working, highlight the organizations that is doing work, and support those organizations if we are serious about seeing the change.
Absolutely, and I think that it's easy, just like you said, to look at only the negativity. So when we talk about building a school, especially building an African-centered school, who you think about? Umar Johnson? Right? But how can you sit there and really put a whole lot of trust and faith in somebody who isn't backed by an entire organization?
That's true.
He is the face of what? He is the face of who? So when we talk about these things that are not being done, they're being done, but it's almost like, you know, we get pushed off to the side by these big social media, I'm gonna call them
YouTube superstar?
Charlatans. Charlatans. That's exactly what they are. They are charlatans because they have no, they're Pan-African through a European lens. And if you are acting as a Pan-African under European identity within you, then you are no better than a European. If you read the Miseducation of the Negro, that's the book that we are on here, they talk about how the teachers would be teaching black students, but under the concept of a white curriculum. So how powerful is a black teacher teaching a white curriculum to black students if you are trying to get them to have a black identity? So that's the thing, when we look at how people are moving and acting, you have to look at the mindset that they are coming from. If you are trying to align with somebody who is doing for people of African descent, make sure that they have an African-centered mindset, a mindset of collectivism, a mindset of community. Today is out there every single weekend. Every single weekend cleaning up. Where y'all clean up at?
North and Greenmount.
North and Greenmount. So if there's anybody in this room who says, oh man, these streets are dirty, and you don't ever go out there to clean up with them, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. You have to have a sense of conviction within yourself to say, it doesn't matter what anybody else is not doing, I am going to stand here and I'm going to stand firm. That's it.
And Tendea be out there in the freezing cold, 0 below. Ty City and Eli and them got their shovels and gloves. Feel me? Yeah.
my name is Merlin. I'm a part of the Pan-African Liberation Movement. We have a youth organization called the Urban Youth Initiative Project. And thank you, Tendea, for having this circle. I wanted to comment because I keep hearing we don't have the resources. I think that when we have a misunderstanding, we're not clear about who we are culturally, we will say stuff like we don't have the resources. We are the resources. Because we haven't studied ourselves as African men and African women, we don't understand where we are, why we are here, and where we are going. So I think that it's our duty as African men and African women to study our people, to study who we are culturally. And once we have a clear understanding of who we are culturally, we will understand that we are our resource, because there's a lot of resources in this room. We can't depend on something outside of us to fund our schools, to take care of our children, to give them therapy. We all that we need. But if we don't have a clear understanding of who we are, then we don't understand it. I think that the first step for all of us in this room is to pick up a book. We're reading Carter G. Woodson, The Miseducation of the Negro. And the reason why we're reading that book or any book by our ancestors is to get a clear understanding of our history. And once we have a clear understanding of our history, we can understand the present, the past, and the future. But I think that it's our job, because I want to be very clear about this, to understand who we are culturally. And we got to be very studious about it. We got to pick up books. We got to read together. We got to study together. We got to ask questions together. And once we do that, we're going to have all the answers to our questions, I'm telling you. So I just wanted to make that.
Can I just say one more thing real quick? I ain't make a point because I got too hyped for real. So the whole point, right, is that if half of y'all would have moved into that neighborhood that my little man lived in and many other people, and y'all came with y'all level of consciousness and understanding for real, you feel me? A lot of brothers wouldn't even be dead right now for real. It'll be way more, you feel me? It'll be, yeah, a lot of them just wouldn't be dead. It's like 300 something black people died in Baltimore City every year, 5 years, 3, 6, 9, 12. That's like 1,500 like black men like just dead in the streets down there. Just, you feel me? Like that 1,500 could have been like 200 if half of y'all or people in the past would have graduated and then went back to their neighborhoods, moved back into their neighborhoods as a group for real and changed their neighborhoods for real. Like, but that was the whole point of why the biggest crime being committed for real was the people who have a certain level of enlightenment and consciousness and opportunity to not, you feel me, shine their light on the people who might not have that for real.
Just talk. Oh, I got something quick to say to everybody. I just really want to know, what are we waiting for? Like she said, we can all get $1 out of our pocket right now and put it on the table before we leave. We all got Instagram. We can pull out our phone and support that foundation on their school. We can get everybody on this wave immediately. It's really on us. Like you said, what are we waiting for?
Hey, yo,
right now.
Real quick, guys. I'm going to tell you what we're waiting for. We're waiting for somebody else. When I say somebody else, we're waiting for white people to give us their money. That's what we're waiting for.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're waiting for. Because you can say that, you know, pull $1 out your pocket and put it right there. What's that going to do for us next year? Because honestly, when we donate to these causes, do we do it consistently? So unless we are going to have a consistent spirit about what we're doing to our people, we're not doing anything. If you're only going to do something once a year or once every time there's a panel discussion, you're not doing anything. If you are African in descent, and everyone in here is African in descent, right? You should be African in your actions. You should be African in your intentions. You should be African in your sentiments. You should be African in your moves.
And you got to be clear about why you're doing it and have a clear understanding of why you're doing it. Because if you don't have a clear understanding of why you're doing it, you are going to stop. And I think it goes back to what Elijah said. You have to have a love for your people to continue to do this work, to continue to give, to be like, I'm going to give to this organization because I believe in what they're doing. And if you have that love, you will continue to do it. But you got to be clear about it. You can't go to one circle and be like, you know what, I'm fired up. You got to keep moving. You got to go to another circle. You got to pick up a book. You got to be serious about this work. So.
And that what they talk about the school thing, it's a fundraiser actually. It's called the Royal African Gala for real. It's like once a year, everybody come dressed in like African attire for real. You get like, you buy like the tickets, and then you get like male African music and stuff. And then like that goes towards schools like a fundraiser for real. It's called the Royal African Gala. And when they use the term African, I don't want people to get confused and associated with the colonized Africans that they see in Maryland or Baltimore for real. When they saying African, they're not talking about those colonized Africans you see that disrespect you at the gas stations or nothing like that. They're colonized. They no different from, they've been impacted just how we've been impacted. When she's talking about Africa, talking about the culture and practices and traditions pre-colonial, and even the ones that exist now that haven't been tampered with by Europeans for real. And you would have to really do study to understand. I just want to make that clear. I know, like, I ain't no African. Africans just cuss at me.
What I'm going to say, hi, I'm Erica. We're just going to follow to what you said, that sparked my mind. And I'm like, a lot of us do have self-hate, and it comes from, like, the European standard of beauty. Everything that we see on social media comes from our parents literally telling us to be the strong black woman, be the strong black man. That becomes a self-hate because then I have to leave the standard. You start to demise even being black because you're like, I gotta be strong, but I'm going through some tough stuff right now, but I have to keep this face. So you start to demise that, and I just wanted to say, like, even if you can't do it for all of our people, do it for your sister that's sitting next to you, like, do it for your brother that's sitting next to you. Like, before I could see the bigger picture, I was only doing it for my family. Like, I was only doing it because nobody else in my family went to college besides my sister. She, you know, she slipped up, did what she did, and now she feels like she's limited. I do it so that she never feels limited again. Like, I do it for my mother. She couldn't have the life that she wanted to live because she raised her children with, well, she was raised with her children. Like, she lived her life and grew up with her children. I do it for that, and that's what keeps me going. Like, you have to think about it, like, it's bigger than us, and if you really think about it, like, there's a divine power in every one of us. Like, it's scary. Like, you got to think about the people that's in this room. Like, there's nobody else that has this power. Like, nobody. Like, they can try, and that's why they're trying to stop us. Like, anytime you think about, like, dang, I'm feeling defeated, it's because they know that there's something really mustered in you. Like, you have to really think about that, because I'm like, we talk about, like, this self-hate. Like, there's nothing to hate about being the strongest ones, unfortunately. Like, okay, you really, like, it sucks sometimes. But that just means that we're powerful beyond measures. Like, that's why they're trying to stop us. Like, anytime you feel like you're limited, it's because they're trying to stop us. Because we have that fire. Like, we have it. And I feel like just invest in your sister. Like, when I see my little sister doubt herself, like, my little sister's brown skin. And for a long time, I didn't understand colorism. I didn't understand, like, why is it that my mom is treating me different than my little sister? And I had to understand, like, my little sister has to be protected. Because in this world, she won't reach her full potential unless somebody says that they love her and love her skin. She will be down her skin, bleaching her skin. We're Jamaican. Bleaching her skin, hating herself, and stuff like that. So when I think about stuff like that, you have to really think, like, I'm doing it for her. So she never feels like she has to limit herself. So she feels like she can go in a room and be outspoken and be that black girl, and whether she's seen as the angry black girl because she's too passionate or whatever, to be that person. And so just like, because if you can't do it for everybody, like, I understand we can't all see the bigger picture. We're all growing and evolving to love ourselves. Because it starts with your parents. And our parents don't really love themselves either. They weren't taught to love themselves. Like, my mother was the strong black woman, and although she was, that's scary. Because I barely saw her cry. She had breast cancer, barely saw her cry. Like, you know, facing like losing her parents to HIV and stuff like that and drug abuse, barely saw her shed a tear. Like, that's not okay. And so just understanding, like, you have to do it for these people. Like, they didn't know any better. She didn't know any better. She was mad at me when I was crying, and I'm like, what? Confused. It's because she wasn't taught. And like you said, that understanding why people sell drugs in the hood and why, it's because we're put into this construct. But the one thing I want to leave with y'all is don't be a product of your environment. Make your environment a product of you. Like, yes, I've been through stuff, but what have I learned? Courage. I've learned persistence. So that means that anything that anybody that's trying to stop me from building my community back up, I'm not going to let them, because I built that thoroughness. Like, you feel me? I built that tough skin through everything that we had to endure, my ancestors, everything. Like, it's the power that's in us. I built it so I can build anything else. And we have to keep that mindset, because yes, it's going to be hard to build your community back up, but you can do it because you've been through that. Like, you've been in those seats and you made it out.
Anybody else have anything to say before I wait 1 second. Sorry, she's been there. Okay. So, one thing that I feel like is, I don't remember where our question started, but where we are now is that I feel like it's really important that we always it's always like not a switch, but it's always something that, you know, clicks in within and starts with ourselves. Like, both my parents are from New York. My dad saw someone get like jumped or killed or something, and he was like, yeah, I don't think I want to get jumped. So he left, well, not left, but he, you know, he did what he did, went to college, went to Morgan, got his doctorate at Morgan, and, you know, is now teaching black boys to, like, you know, be better. Yeah, but anyways, I knew a woman, my first teacher, she started a Pan-African charter school. But the thing is that she got the funds, she got the grants, she had the resources. It's just that, you know, black people don't want to support anything that's not Jordan or Walmart or sold by some white person. Yeah. Like, it's that it starts from within, and you have to support. It's about supporting the black people and keeping the black dollar in the black community. Is that you can get the grants, you can get the resources, because like we said, how you have to start from the bottom. Sometimes you do need, like, you know, help from Samuel Adams, like whoever, like sometimes you need help from like black peers, but sometimes it's about just getting the black people to come out and support other black people and continuing, like, you want this thing to start, well, support what you see and then grow from that and partner with them, and then you just make it great.
What's up, everyone? I'm Ani. I was gonna say, it's like a lot of good points, but I was gonna say we gotta change our definition of success when it comes to us. Because sometimes we look at as having a nice fence, the picket fence in the house, like, yeah, I'm good. You guys realize, like, if I can't do this collectively with my people, like, I really failed. Right. And it's like, at times, we kind of, what she was saying earlier with the whole strong black man, strong black woman thing, it's like, we got to view our vulnerability as strength of itself. Like, fellas, like, it's okay to be down and cry sometimes. Like, call your bro, like, yo, I'm feeling terrible. Like, yo, like, be there for your man. It's like, it's okay for a woman to, like, even let your guard down around your man. You don't always got to be so strong. You know, let him console you, let him be, if he's there, you know. But it's even right to do that with your sisters. Like, you don't gotta talk all the junk, you don't gotta gossip with your people. It's like, you gotta bring that good energy so it could be like reciprocated. And I feel like amongst us, that's what we need, because the hate breeds too much energy and it's too draining. And it's like, when you really fight stuff with love, it's something that inspires people, and I feel like that's something we need to keep.
You know, it's important that we appreciate blackness in every facet that exists. Like, I think there's always like this like, I am upset when like certain black people don't know things, don't understand things, but I don't hate them, because as you said, the hate is very toxic, and understanding the systems that I've mentioned, like, I don't judge blackness in any facet. The sister who was here was like, if you scroll down Facebook and the sister has natural hair and a thick voluptuous body, people judge her. But because certain groups I'm in, because the people I'm around, because I don't know about y'all, but my social media is filled with people like me. It'll be a picture of a sister with straight hair, and they'll be like, look at this sellout. And I'll be like, I don't think that's the way to heal either. I try to appreciate blackness in all its facets, as long as it's not damaging, healthy, or, you know, hurting people. Like, for instance, I'm online because I'm an idiot, and they're having an argument about Beyonce versus Erykah Badu. I'm just like, Erykah got a nice voice, but Beyonce can reach an octave that's very powerful. And somebody's argument was like, well, yeah, but Erykah realer. And I said, damn. So Beyonce, like, the way we, going into how we measure success, I'm like, yo, if everything we do represents, if everything one of us does represents all of us, she's a very successful black woman, and she did it with her talent. She didn't, you know, you don't see like Beyonce really naked or any of these movies. She's just a very respectable woman. I'm like, I don't care how she wears her hair. I don't judge her for that. And I say that to say, like, respecting blackness and all its facets and stuff like that. And yes, there are lots of young men spending money on Jordans and stuff like that, but he's been taught that that's supposed to make you feel important. And when he's walking around feeling important, the last thing I want to do is like, what you spending your money on, nigga? It's like, no, like, yo, take your moment, yo. Learn to love your people, learn to love yourself, and spend money on other things, but I appreciate you in every facet you come, just loving blackness in every package. Like, when we don't do that shit, we expel all this hate for each other that I think is just fucking unnecessary. Oh, sorry.
Anybody else want to add anything?
Hi, my name is December. We're talking about the black dollar and
spending money and supporting black people. I'm a school Morgan student, and my major is fashion merchandising. And we're all so upset about Prada and Gucci and all this other stuff. We have to realize that they don't make that stuff for us. Because they don't think we have that dollar. So when they put the face on there, oh, the white people can wear this because it doesn't affect them. They don't make the dollar for us. So that's why we can't be so hooked up on, I gotta get Gucci, I gotta get Prada. No, you don't. They're not making anything for you. We have to support the black people that make stuff for us. We have to support the black dollar. We have to support the black designers like Pierre Moss and LaQuan Smith and all those other people because they make their collections and stuff supported around black people. Not Prada and Gucci and all them. They don't care about us because they don't think our black money matters. They don't think we have the money. So I just want to speak on that.
What Jacob said also about respecting the fact that someone might spend all their money on Jordans, just like going back to respecting, we have to respect ourselves also before we can respect each other. And so that also goes back to like mental health, because I feel like a lot of things are frowned upon in the black community, especially like mental health and just like taking care of yourself and things that are different. It's scary because change is scary, but just I just want to say don't like limit yourself. And also one thing that I learned, I do yoga. I don't know if anyone does yoga in here, but I do yoga, and one saying I learned is namaste, which means the spirit in me honors the spirit in you. So you might not always agree with what your black sister, your black brother is doing, but at the end of the day, you need to honor their spirit because systematically and institutionally, this world was made to not honor us. So, yeah.
I really think we should delete it out of our vocabulary, so it's the B word, because now we got girls walking around saying I'm the baddest B. Now we got all the racists calling us the N-word, thinking it's okay because if it is a group of black people and they got one white friend, that one white friend probably saying the N-word. You know what I'm saying? That's not okay. That's the only reason. That's all I had to say. But that's why I didn't need to.
Going off what you said, I personally believe that black culture influences the entire world. We influence everything, every facet of the world. Fashion, music, whatever. You can go to Asia and listen to trap music. So in a way, I do agree with you that it needs to be eliminated. But in what I've heard in other, conversations, I feel as if the word nigga, from what other people, I'm not necessarily saying that I agree with this, but from other people, they said that it's used as like reclaiming the word, like using it, like taking the original definition, which was to, demean, not saying I agree, but to demean, us, and then using it as a term of endearment. So when it comes to white people saying it, it's like my mama would say, everybody want to be a nigga but don't want to be a nigga. So you got people saying, outside of, the black community, oh, my nigga, you ain't never experienced being a nigga. You never in your life will experience being a nigga. So I feel as if, in a way, yes, we should, but if the word is going to be used, it shouldn't be other people saying it. And it's hard to say because it's popularized now, it's in music, it's in everything. It's hard to exclude it from other people saying it, but I personally feel very offended if I hear a white person or a non-black person, I don't even gotta be white people. I don't care if you Latina, if you ain't got an ounce of black blood, don't say it.
Why?
Period.
But well, hold on.
Can I pose a question? Why do we get offended when we hear non-black people say the word?
Well, one, because the word is rooted in something different. Like the same way how I might have my little cousin, and I'm like, yo, shorty shit stain, what's up with you? And I call him that because he used to shit himself when he was 2 years old. However, if he's 15 and someone he doesn't know calls him the same exact thing, it's like, whoa, bro, you don't associate with the people I associate with. You didn't grow up with the people I associate with. And I do believe in repurposing. Look at the way we use the word dope. Dope was killing people in the 80s. And now it's like, yo, that verse was dope. You crack, you fire. What we do as black people is take all these negative things and turn them into positives. And I think it's ill that we look at white people and go, ha, ha, ha.
You used it to demoralize us, and now you want to say it so bad and you can't because it'll get you beat up. I like that. I like the way it come out my mouth. I like saying nigga. One of the wisest things I ever heard, I'm a nerd, so just gotta preface that. In the Harry Potter series, Hermione says, fear of the name only increases fear of the thing itself. People don't know that in the books, they tell you whenever you actually say Voldemort, his people can hear you. And Harry Potter made a note, I'm gonna say it every time because I'm not afraid. I am not gonna let this country give me a word and then tell me I can't have it. Hell with that, nigga. Like, I'm gonna say it. Naturally intellectual, ghetto, galactic alchemist. I redefine it, I make it mine. White people can't have it.
Harry Potter, that's straight European culture for real, you feel me? Not to come at you, but that's what it is, right? You feel me? Imagine if all y'all was hung from trees, you feel me? Your vaginas was cut off, you feel me? You experienced certain things while being caught this word because of this word, and then your great-great-grandkids embrace this word and try to so-called use it as something positive, calling each other this word in a society of these same people who have committed these atrocities towards you or on you based on these words. To justify using the N-word is to disconnect and disrespect your ancestors.
And I would feel that way. And I would feel that way.
When you're constantly remembering your ancestors and you're constantly rooted inside of your culture and your history, you develop a connection and a real genuine love for them as if they're really here. And you wouldn't do that. You can only do that when you're not truly connected in your history and your culture.
And I would feel that way if it was a word that they could use. I would feel that way if everybody was using it and everybody had dumbed down the power of it. We took the power of it and they can't have it anymore.
Where did the white man
Where
did the white man get the word nigger from?
Negus. Ethiopian translates to king.
This is how I feel about it. I feel like
but they pronounce it wrong because it's Negus.
I know, they're Caucasian. You can't expect them to be smart.
I feel like, this is a real quick point. I just feel like, for the whole like non-white people or just white people saying the word nigga, to me, it's kind of like if a dog stood up, if a dog like walked to me and said, "You're a nigga," like I wouldn't really entertain it. So it's like, why would I like? It's a two-legged dog or a four-legged dog. Like I feel like we give them power by acknowledging it, by acknowledging that their words have worth over us. And like I don't feel that white people are really worth my anything. They're really not worth my time. Not really worth my anger. I feel like we should kind of understand. We should really make it a point to understand white people and why they use the word nigga, and then try to integrate that into our society, or maybe vice versa.
I mean, it comes from insecurity, but we'll get to that.
That's a different.
Hey yo, real quick. I think this is a difficult question. I think it's going to be an all-good debate. But what I would add to it is that to me, it's not just a word. It's a really important word because it's not dealing with our shoes. It's not dealing with our hair. It's dealing with our very identity. And so we have to be real careful how we allow ourselves to be identified, because I think part of the reason that we're still struggling with the slave mindset is an identity issue. It's how we would define in the definition that we succumb to. And so I don't think we completely repurpose that word. So in Tendea, we don't use that word. You get what I'm saying? Because I don't think we completely repurpose that word, because we'll say it as a term of endearment and then get around white people and be like, see, he on that nigga shit. It's like, what's that mean? So it's still in a negative connotation to it. If you still be like, oh, you came late, that's nigga time. Oh, you eating that, you act like a nigga. So it's still inside, it sounds like it's positive on the surface, but it's still negative. And so I think we're so creative and I think we're so powerful that we can do better than that. When it comes to definitions, when it comes to how we're going to self-identify, not just our people now, like present term wise, but 1,000 years from now. Because that's how we got to be thinking, generation upon generation now. And it's like alongside, because in my opinion, they in the same boat. Alongside the N word is also the B word when it comes to referring to women, and then moving side by side. And I don't see them stopping no time soon. But I think we, as people that's striving to work for the black community, got to be real careful what we put the stamp of approval on, because history will write of this. History will write how our generation looked at this, especially the leaders that's coming out of our generation. History will remember that. And so I think we could do better. I think if you notice that, yo, we done been colored people, we done been Negroes, we done been African Americans, we done been black. I was just at a panel where they was talking about like our identity changed like every 10 years. And so, and right now we like, when it comes to popular youth culture, it's like, and we niggas. And it's like, let's be careful about that. You get what I'm saying? Because the youth is watching, and they're listening, and they're picking it up. And especially if you don't have a clear definition of it. Because we don't control the definition of it. It's constantly being defined in media, through movies, and they're using it too. The boy that's selling drugs is also saying, yo, I'm not only a nigga, but I'm striving to be a real nigga. And he has a definition. He has a definition. And it's might not be fully articulated, but when he acts out that definition, it causes trauma to our community. So I'm saying it's like, we gotta be careful with that. So it's like, if we can say, yo, we're black men, or we're striving to be real black men, we can control that definition. But I think if we'll be honest with ourselves, the N-word, yeah, get the promo. That's one of the shirts we sell support. But with the N-word, what we have to admit is that, yo, that is out of our hands. It's not ours no more, and it's being used in many different ways. And so if I say I'm a real N-word or I'm an N-word, we have all different definitions. And so I think, and I would propose, I didn't do studies on it, I would propose that most of those definitions are negative. And so I think we have to do something different in terms of identity. And if we people of creativity, I just think we can be more creative than that.
A little bit, but I did see, the first thing I noticed when I walked in here earlier was that he had on the shirt that said, I'm a real man, you know? That was the first thing I noticed when I walked in here. Me personally, I deal with kids now. I'm dealing with a lot of different younger people, and I feel like we have to start changing our mentality and how we talk, because the first thing that the kids notice is how you talk. The first thing that they notice is how you dress. So me personally, I feel like he asked the question earlier, what are we waiting for? I feel like we have to start now. We have to start today, because it really starts with our children. Because in their history books now, if I can remember, one of the history books said that the Indians moved out. They freely gave their land to the Europeans. That's what the history books say today. And it's like, I have a nephew, he's 4 years old. He will eventually grow into a young black man. And if he doesn't know that now, that we didn't just give our land to people, he's never going to know it. So I think nigga, the B word, all of the curse words that we use in our music and our everything has to be taken out. We have to stop it immediately. Like, and that doesn't take time. You just do it. That's not something we have to think about. You just do it.
I am someone, so for anyone who doesn't know, I do spoken word poetry. I teach spoken word poetry, and before that, I was obsessed with the usage of words. I'm a hip hop connoisseur. I'm an English major. The idea that words can't be changed, it's something that I have seen proven wrong. The idea that Yahshua then turned to Jesus, that die means you're here and die means you're not going to be here. The idea that words have been changed and definitions have been changed. The fact that comedians like Richard Pryor and Red Fox took the word and made it something that people didn't even know that they could culturally be proud of. In my eyes, I don't disagree with them. I do see the harmful effects, because I'd be lying if I didn't. And I won't lie. That being said, I will not believe that a definition cannot be changed, because I have seen it done multiple times.
So I would say, Don't hand me a pile of crap and spray perfume on it and have me think that I'm gonna think it smells good. Because it still won't smell like a pile of crap. We gotta understand that words have power. There's a concept called hate, and that's words of power. So if I sit in the mirror every day and I'm speaking my hate and I'm saying, Quetta, you ugly. You ugly. You ugly. You ugly. Like every single day of my life, then the next day, you're beautiful. What you think I'm going to really think about myself saying that I'm beautiful after 30 years of telling myself in the mirror that I am ugly? Do you think I'm going to believe it 30 years later after I've already ingrained it into my mentality that I am ugly? No. So once you already have a connotation of a word, why are we trying to take such a negative word and add some good light on it? We taking crap and spraying perfume on it like it doesn't have that same sting. I don't want the word.
All right, one more, and then one last question, then we're gonna wrap up.
I was just going to say that we have frequency people, and for us to use a word that has such low vibrations, it hurts us people. And also, like, there's an artist, I'll tell you the name later, but he said, you know, it's a verse, he said,
Niggas is ignorant. Niggas can't be trusted. You know, niggas die too quick. And when you look at that, the nigga identity, it holds no moral standard. It holds no moral values. Like, by any means necessary, money over woman. I'll sell something to my mama if I have to get it. And that type of thing is real detrimental and it hurts us. So I feel like we gotta let it go. But it's gonna, like she said, it doesn't take too much time. Like, there's clean version of your music. You know there is. You see the little album that's underneath. It's like, we could all do it. Like, if we really put our dedication into it, like, it's possible.
What I tell my son when he says he wants to play for the NFL, we are done with field work. They are too comfortable shooting down the idea of blacks passing from bullets than throwing bullet passes. Nah. Hell, if it's $1 million deal, they want Emmitt Smith but treat you like Emmett Till. They like their teams divided. Not even Johnny can unite us. They like their black shackled, tackled, concussed, like you ACL tear, but don't drop to your knees. You can kneel for the play, but play with the flag and throw a flag on the play. Tell you you can't play, but this ain't no game to you. $9 million a year ain't change to you, but that contract is them handing change to you. They're stealers of rights who will forgive a fumble but penalize you for holding on to your blackness. You ever wonder how the country fell in love with the sport where the black men hit each other like Mandingo fighting? The whole thing is a slave ritual. Thought our people found freedom when we ran, but now they got you running back. Got you tossing pigskins like bales of cotton, zigzags, trucker job, Bo Jackson, Bojangles. You looking at this game from the wrong angles. They can never understand your anger when they know shotgun is a play and you know it as a threat. When you know boys who stepped to the police and met their defensive end, they will deny their involvement when your brain is scrambled. Imagine blacks thinking they found heaven, then under a helmet is where you and hell met. But then they'll say, why you all mad? You all mad. Didn't Super Bowl 2018 teach you the only way you'll beat patriotism is if you're willing to lose to their ego or ego? Why you want to play for them? America ain't no team player. New Orleans didn't see no Saints during Katrina. In Detroit, they lying to the people. Because you can't get a win when you're the Browns, whether in Cleveland or LA, they'll charge us wherever we touch down. When you realize your blood is royal, bleeding purple will ask what you raving about. You get to speaking like a panther, you'll see hawks, and in Oakland, they'll be raiding your house. See the racists rolling coats, so giant you Tennessee Titans bolt from their power. Like our revolution is a cardinal sin. These cowboys were always Packers and coffins, and you can't say nothing, no matter how many dead children, Chicago Bears, but because you my son. You two falcon have your wings clipped. You'll buck when they buccaneer, meaning the lies they'll try to pirate your rights with, they'll fight with, they'll say, slavery and genocide you must forget, but always remember when New York got hit with the Jets. And then they'll say you ain't no team player. Tell them the team you play for has red skin because you've been washing tons of blood and it won't come off. My people so fly, we should win an ESPY off of lynchings alone. No, son. If they don't respect your struggle, they don't get your muscle, child. You are black. You don't need their field. You're gonna be running your whole life.